Good evening, everybody. Before we begin, I'd like to gently remind our speakers on the call that we are live streaming on YouTube just for access, and that just automatically means that we are recording as well. So just putting that out there again for your consent. Welcome to our webinar, everybody, jointly organized by the Cambridge Africa Mentorship Program, or CAMP, and the Oxford University Africa Society Mentorship Program. My name is Abita B. Chungong. I'm a third-year PhD student in the Department of Politics and International Studies here at the University of Cambridge, and I'll be your moderator today. I am also one of two CAMP co-chairs for the Cambridge Africa Mentorship Program. Before we dive into the essence of our conversation today, I would like to introduce you to the rest of our Oxford and Cambridge teams who have worked tirelessly for the possibility of our convening today. I would now go ahead and call on our presidents. We have Sam and then we have Nina on the call. So Sam and Nina, if you wanted to unmute yourself and introduce yourselves, that would be wonderful.
Well, thank you very much, Abita. My name is Samuel Nyako-Japan, a PhD in education at Cambridge here, and then also the president of the African Society of Cambridge University. It is a pleasure, to have you all here, and also excited about what we are going to discuss, scholarships. And most importantly, I'm also very excited about the joint partnership between Oxford and Cambridge to have this event. I'll pause here and then allow Nina to also introduce herself, and then we move on to introducing the rest of the team members. Thank you very much, Abby. Over to you, Nina.
Hi, everyone. I am Nina, the president of the Oxford University Africa Society. I'm a second-year DPhil student in molecular and cellular medicine, and it's an absolute pleasure to introduce myself and represent my society here today. So our team has been greatly committed to advancing and celebrating African culture, scholarship, and dialogue within Oxford communities. And while some of our key members couldn't join us today, I would greatly like to acknowledge them. Mwangi, Ade, Ariana, and Kapil have been instrumental in making sure that this webinar is a success. So I'm very, very happy to acknowledge them. And on that note, I'll hand it back to Sam, who would go ahead and introduce his team.
Thank you very much, Nina. So I would like to introduce or mention the good work done by Belinda Kuleko, who is also on the call, and also who is also the CAMP co-chair as part with Abita. I also like to acknowledge the work done by Kika. Kika is the General Secretary for ASCU, the Cambridge African Society of Cambridge University General Secretary. And I also like to acknowledge the work done by our committee, our newly formed committee, particularly the comms chair, who is working tirelessly to highlight the information that we're going to share here. Thank you very much all, and I'm looking forward to a really good discussion today. Over to you, Abby.
Thank you very much, Sam and Nina. Belinda, did you want to say a few words? Belinda is my co-chair, so she gets privileges.
Thank you, Abita. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Belinda Kolekwa-Agwitiame, a second-year PhD student at the University of Cambridge. Like Abita mentioned, I'm a co-chair with the Cambridge University African Students Mentorship Program, and I'm excited to be here because we actually thought about it, put in a lot of work to execute it, and we are having a meeting on the big day, and I'm hopeful that we have a very successful session. And thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, Belinda. All right, everybody. So the goal for our Oxbridge collaboration today is to connect prospective postgraduate students on the African continent and beyond to scholarship guidance from major scholarship experts and decision makers here at Cambridge and Oxford. The aim is to have all of you be able to submit quality application files to both universities. So on that note, may I briefly introduce the experts who are doubling as our esteemed panelists, who would be sharing their insights and their expertise with us today. First, we will have Dr. Chimwemwe Manyozo, the Communications Officer at Africa Oxford Initiative. Then we will have Ms. Kim Edwards, the Student Funding Manager of the Refugee and Black Academic Futures Scholarship at Oxford, followed by Ms. Louisa Clark, the Program Manager of the Gates Cambridge Scholarship. And then finally, we would have Ms. Awa Leonid, who is the Program Manager of the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship at Cambridge, and Mr. Ian Fossey, the Communications Coordinator at the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship here at Cambridge. Our speakers will offer brief insights for about 7 to 8 minutes, each on the overview of their various scholarships or the scholarships they represent. They would be offering information on the key eligibility criteria for these scholarships and the application processes, as well as tips for crafting successful applications, which reading through your questions, that's the main thing everybody's interested in. How do I have the best application out there? We will then end with a Q&A session, which I will facilitate with questions you submitted to us during your registration. So without further ado, may I welcome Dr. Chimwemwe Manyozo from the Africa Oxford Initiative.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure if I'm an expert in this, but anyway, let's see how that goes. Let me share my screen so that I just take you through the Africa Oxford Initiative and also some of the things that we are offering at Africa Oxford Initiative. So essentially, just as a way of introduction, for you to just have an idea about the Africa Oxford Initiative, it's basically a cross-university platform that's essentially there to focus on Africa as a strategic priority for the University of Oxford, seeing the power and the diversity of the continent of Africa and the talent that's there, and to be able to see how the university could then collaborate and also contribute to the developments that are happening in the different countries on the continent of Africa. We have a few programs that we are currently doing. The first program, which is our biggest program, is a Scholars Program, which is what I'm about to talk about today. We have another program that's focusing on the research. So we have the Catalyst Grants and Fellowships, then career development, and all those are essentially focusing on the research aspect, which is not what I'm about to talk about today. Then we have another pillar that focuses on our innovation, particularly on health innovation, but we're about to expand that to also focus on the different aspects of that. So getting to the scholarship itself, when you're looking at the scholarship that is provided by the Africa Oxford Initiative, in partnership with different partners, including the Mastercard Foundation, we provide comprehensive support. And that support covers different stages. So the first stage is before you come to the university, the time that you're going to be spending at the University of Oxford, and also after you graduate. And there are various aspects that this particular program covers. It covers programs that are focusing on issues like leadership. There's holistic and well-being support. There's critical dialogues, which are very key. There's getting of practical skills, careers and transitions, which is a conversation that starts mostly when people have just arrived at the university, to start having conversations about transitions and what the transition looks like. And then once they graduate, then we're able to provide that level of support. And even during the time, as well as the students are here, and even after they leave, we also focus on building some sort of a vibrant community. The idea behind the community is to ensure that people are able to provide each other with that level of support in different aspects. We do understand that we are only a small team, but in terms of the numbers of the scholars and the fellows that we have, they're in a large number. And in terms of also diversities and experiences, we're able to tap into that, which is why we keep on pushing for the development of that community. Now, before you come to the university, you have applied, you have been offered the opportunity, we are going to be able to provide you with support in terms of processing of visa, flights, NHS surcharge, sorry. So in short, if you get this particular scholarship, you're not going to be spending money on these expenses. We cover those and we find ways of sending that money, which I have to say is different from the other scholarships that are out there that will ask you to spend that money and then they're going to refund. And I can see people on the course smiling. That tells you our scholarship is worth thinking about. Then there are various orientation programs that we do before students come, and they focus on academic issues and non-academic issues as well. So things like, where do you get your Iwisa, which is Sima, or which is Ugali? Where is the best barbershop, and stuff of that sort. It sounds like things that are not important, but when you're transitioning from one country to another, that form of information becomes very clear, and we provide that level of support. And when you're in Oxford, there's going to be an orientation that usually happens the first or second week once you arrive, just to give you an idea about how this particular place works. A couple of months after, you're going to have a retreat. We just came from a retreat. It's a massive program where there's much learning, but also the idea of building community, and there are regular catch-ups that are going to happen afterwards. And then after you finish studying at the university, we have an Ubuntu transitions program that essentially provides support to students in terms of whatever form of transitions they're thinking about. We do understand that it's not always clear once you graduate in terms of how you're going to be landing, whether you're going to get a job or not. So we provide that support for about 6 months for you to be able to have a discussion and work in a particular organization. We have several partners on the continent and some beyond the continent that are able to host our scholars. And like I say, as you can hear, this is a program that is worth thinking about. So how do you get into the scholarship? The process is the same as applying to the University of Oxford, which I believe also is what our partners on the call are going to be talking about, where you have to apply to the University of Oxford, you have to gain admission into the University of Oxford. You're not supposed to submit a separate application. So once you do that, then we get that particular information of the Africans that have made it to the University of Oxford in the different departments, and then we're able to move in terms of doing the interviews, and then the process goes forward. The requirements also depend on the department. So in terms of the requirements for the scholarship, like I said, the first step is for you to be able to get into the University of Oxford. There are various deadlines. There's the 15th of October. I've put this one because there was another one before, because 15th is tomorrow. There's another one on 3rd December that's focusing on the medical sciences, and in the humanities, we are looking at 7th January. There's 8th for math, physical, and life sciences, 9th January in social sciences, and a few others. So as you can see, there are various deadlines for the various programs. And once you have an idea about what you want to apply for, please go check out the graduate admissions website. You'll be able to find information. Now, I was asked to talk about some of the tips, and I'm just going to say one thing. The key thing when it comes to tips of application is just to make sure that you put your best foot forward. And I know that on the continent of Africa, depending on where you come from, there are some places where it's almost difficult for you to talk about your achievements because it feels like bragging. But this particular process requires you to be able to profile some of that amazing work that you're able to do. And on top of that, the university has various resources, which is the graduate admissions website. If you go on that particular website, there's a lot of information about how you can craft your competing application documents. So I'm not going to talk much about it. I'll hand it over to Abby, who I believe is going to pass over to someone else. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and your insights, Dr. Manyozo. We may now just welcome Ms. Kim Edwards to tell us a little bit about the Refugee and Black Academic Futures Scholarship at Oxford.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So I will just be sharing some slides as well. So yes, I'm Student Funding Manager at Oxford University for the Academic Futures Programme. And aware that we also have Cambridge on the call, I thought I should start with saying, why Oxford? So we have a large and diverse graduate community at Oxford, over 13,000 students from 150 countries. Half are taught courses and half are research, and around 60% of our graduate students come from outside the UK. Oxford offers more than 330 graduate courses across the disciplines, including taught and research courses for full and part-time study. And we were rated #1 by the Times Higher Education World University Rank for the last 9 years. So Academic Futures is only part of the story. As you've just heard, the AFOX Scholarship is one of our scholarships as well. I think Academic Futures will offer most people, there won't necessarily be big overlap between the two. But we have many other scholarships as well. So each year, new Oxford postgraduates benefit from around 1,000 full or partial scholarships offered by the university, its academic departments and colleges and others. If you're interested in a course, you should definitely have a look on the department website, because some scholarships are available through departments, through colleges, including some that is for specifically for African students, or specifically for some countries in Africa. Most scholarships are based on academic merit or potential, and about 50% of doctoral scholarships students are fully funded, either by Oxford or external funders. But different areas do have more or less funding, so it does slightly depend what discipline you're looking to do a master's or a PhD in. So what is Academic Futures? It's a series of scholarship programs that aims to address underrepresentation and help improve equality, diversity and inclusion in our graduate student body. So we have around 50 full scholarships per year. For this last year, we had 60 full scholarships, and they're available across 3 program streams. They're available for all full-time and part-time DPhil and master's courses at Oxford. So the university is looking to attract the very best minds from across the world, regardless of ethnicity, gender, religion, or background. So the 3 streams, and I'm mainly going to talk, well, I'm exclusively going to talk about Black Academic Futures and Refugee Academic Futures, but just to give you a whole picture. So Black Academic Futures is for UK Black or mixed Black students. Refugee Academic Futures is for refugees or other people with lived experience of displacement. And we have a 3rd stream, probably less relevant for this call, around care experienced academic futures for students with experience of being in care in the UK. All 3 scholarships have tailored on-course support programs. So we have separate for support programs for each of the strands, with a range of kind of academic and social activities to support the students when they're here. For full eligibility requirements, I'd encourage you to look at our website. However, I'm going to speak briefly about Refugee Academic Futures and Black Academic Futures now. So Refugee Academic Futures is for applicants who've been displaced due to conflict, persecution, or other serious human rights violations or deprivations, whether within or outside their country of origin. The application process, same as with AFOX, is you basically just apply to the university. So you need to make sure you apply by the early deadline in December or January, and then your application will automatically be considered for the scholarship. But you also need to tick the box on the application form to indicate that you are a refugee or displaced when you apply for the course. So I'd encourage you to look on the website to check that you meet the criteria, and if you do, make sure you tick that box, because otherwise it could be missed. If you are offered a place on the course in the spring, we would then request some further information from you. For Black Academic Futures, the eligibility criteria is applicants who are ordinarily resident in the UK, who are of Black or mixed Black ethnicity. There's some nuance to that. So it's about 3 years you have to have been resident within the UK, but do have a look on the website again, just to check you're eligible. The application process is you apply for an eligible course. So same as the others, by the relevant December or January application deadline. And you need to indicate your ethnicity information in there so that we know that you're eligible for the scholarship. And then your application, there's nothing further on that. Your application will just be assessed based on academic merit and potential.
Kim,
and that is all.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to interrupt you because it looks like the audience is asking if you could kindly share your screen, but it looks like you're done, actually.
Oh, sorry. Was I not? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you should have said earlier. Oh, I had. I'm sorry. Never mind. Okay, I will hand over to the next person. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Thank you. I thought it was intentional. I thought you were going to start sharing your screen, later on. But thank you very much. So we are now going to stroll across the aisle over to the beautiful Cambridge University. I am biased. And we're going to welcome Ms. Louisa Clark to share a little bit about the Gates Cambridge Scholarship with us.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Louisa Clark. I'm the Programme Manager at the Gates Cambridge Trust, as you say, at the University of Cambridge. Okay, so I will attempt to share some slides as well. If you bear with me a second. Let's have a look. Let's see. Not sure. Let's see. I can see my. See if I can open this.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Oh yeah. The Gates Cambridge Scholarship is a scholarship for postgraduate studies at the University of Cambridge. So as my colleagues have mentioned, we also support PhD and master's study at both full-time and part-time level. So just a few numbers to give you some information about our background. We were set up by a donation from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in Seattle.
Lisa,
yes.
I'm really sorry. We can see your, we can't see the slides, but we can see your folder.
Oh, you are screened. Bear with me. Apologies.
That's really fine. Yes, now we can see the slides.
You can see that. Thank you. Sorry, I can see the slides. Apologies, I didn't realise you couldn't see the slides.
Oh, no.
Oh dear. You can see the scholarship advisors are not very good at technical sides of things. We're good at scholarship advising, hopefully. So, as I was saying, we were set up just 25 years ago now. We're coming up to our 25th anniversary celebration. And so just to give you a few stats, you can see there about our applications and our class. We typically have about 75 students each year that join our community, and that's an in-residence community of about 250 students. So as I mentioned, this year we're coming up to our 25th anniversary celebration, and it's very exciting because for the first time, the Gates Cambridge community are all in one building. We opened the Bill Gates Senior House earlier this year, and it brings together myself and the administration team together with our students. So we're all in one building. And actually, my colleagues are going to talk shortly from MasterCard, and they are also in this building, but in below us. So I'm very close to them as well. We're all in one building. As mentioned by my colleagues, our scholarship also covers the sort of full financial requirements that you would need to study at Cambridge at the postgraduate level. So you can read a bit more about it in depth on our website, but just to highlight, finance should not be a barrier to you pursuing your studies at Cambridge, because we will cover your tuition fee, we will give you a maintenance allowance to pay for your living expenses, and we will help you with the costs of things like your visa, your airfare, so we can enable you to get here as well. So when we're looking for candidates, as my colleagues have already mentioned, we also use the University of Cambridge application form. So you apply for graduate funding through the University Graduate Application Portal, and Gates Cambridge is one of the options that you can choose to opt in to be considered for. And we're looking for 4 criteria in our candidates. So as others have already mentioned, academic excellence and the reason that you want to come to Cambridge are obviously 2 key components, because we want you to be successful in your course of choice. In addition, though, Gates Cambridge is looking for students who have a commitment to improving the lives of others and also a capacity for leadership. So we're really looking for scholars who are going to go on and make an impact in the world. But we very much leave this to you to self-define as a candidate. So there's no one right answer with these questions, and I really want to stress that nobody should feel there's something sort of specific that we're looking for, a sort of right answer. It's very much about you presenting your authentic self and explaining why you feel you're a good fit with these criteria. So as I mentioned, the way to apply is through the University of Cambridge application portal. And in addition to all the course questions that you're going to be asked, you also need to provide some additional elements to be considered for Gates Cambridge. And that is a Gates Cambridge statement where you talk about your fit with these eligibility criteria that I've mentioned. A research proposal or a statement of interest, if this isn't required already as part of your course application, so that we can understand why Cambridge is a good fit for you. And then a reference. So we require an additional reference. So your course will require you to submit 2 academic or professional references. But in addition, we also ask for a Gates Cambridge reference, so somebody that can talk about your fit with the Gates Cambridge criteria. If you wish, you can use the same person to write both an academic reference for you and also a Gates Cambridge reference. That doesn't matter. You can use the same person. But please do stress, so this is one of the tips, please do stress to that person that the Gates Cambridge reference is different to the academic reference. And we also want to hear about your commitment to improving the lives of others and your leadership potential. So sometimes the referees do get a bit confused and they submit the same letter twice. And that's not helpful for us in understanding your sort of profile. So if you are going to use the same person as a reference twice, please do just ensure they understand they need to submit a different type of reference for Gates Cambridge. Once you've submitted your application, so we have 2 application deadlines at Cambridge, which neatly are the same as the ones mentioned for Oxford. So that's very helpful. So it'll either be the 3rd of December or the 7th of January. The deadline depends on the course that you're applying to. So please do check carefully on the Cambridge graduate prospectus for the course that you're interested in. What is the funding deadline? The funding deadline will be different to the application for the course deadline. And if you want to be considered for funding, you must apply at the earlier deadline of the 2. So I know this also sometimes causes confusion because course deadlines can be late in the year. They could be May, they could be June 2025 if you're looking at joining in this coming academic year. But funding deadlines will always be much earlier. So as I mentioned, they're December and January. So if you want to be considered for funding, please do make sure you've submitted your complete application by the funding deadline, so that you don't miss that opportunity to be considered. And so for Gates Cambridge, you'll initially go through that department review process. You need to be offered a place at Cambridge in order to be considered for our funding. And then once you've been through that process, departments will nominate to us candidates that they feel are a strong fit with our scholarship. And we will then invite you, hopefully, to come to interview with us. And we'll want to delve into a bit more depth about you and your motivations and what you're why you want to study at Cambridge, what you're hoping to achieve. And we'll do 2 sets of interviews. We have one that's coming up in January for US-based applicants, and we'll have another set of interviews in March where we'll be interviewing in Cambridge. And for this year, for our 25th anniversary year, we're actually doing some additional interviews in Singapore, is the plan. So we'll be offering 3 different interviews, but don't worry if you're not based near any of those locations, because we always offer a virtual interview option as well. So we can definitely find a way to speak with you. So finally, just ending with a bit of a timeline on how the application process works. So as I mentioned, applications are now open, and depending on your course, you'll be looking to submit by either the 3rd of December or the 7th of January. And then if you are successful, we will be inviting you to interview in late March. And I should just reassure you, we're always in contact with everybody who applies. So you will find out, even if you're unsuccessful, we do let you know. So please be reassured, you don't just send off your application and it disappears. We will let you know if you're not going to be proceeding through our application process. And then finally, I would just end with, in terms of tips, as I mentioned already, there's no right answer with the application. Please focus on highlighting really why the course that you're interested in is relevant for you, why you want to come to Cambridge, and really we're looking for the impact that this is going to have for you. So I think really highlight what you're going to do with that course and how it's this next step in your journey. But with that, we'll wrap up now and turn over to my fellow colleagues at MasterCard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. We're just very grateful to have you here today. So last but not least, we're graced with the presence of Ian and Ms. Awa. I think Ian would be taking the lead on the MasterCard Foundation Scholarship end. Please take it away, Ian.
Thank you. Right, I'm just sharing slides too. Can you let me know if you can see those, please?
Yes, we can see your slides.
Yeah, is that looking good?
I can see that yes, perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for having us. So my name's Ian. I've recently joined the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Programme team here at Cambridge. And I'm joined by my colleague, Awa, who is the Programme Manager. So Awa is in the background and will happily answer any questions you've got. So feel free to stick those in the chat if you'd like. So I will give you a very quick introduction to the programme here in Cambridge. And then I'd like to just whip through a few of the questions that we get asked most frequently. So hopefully that's helpful. But yeah, as I say, feel free to stick any other questions in the chat, and I've put the contact email address on the last slide. So if we don't get to your question today, don't worry, feel free to get in touch afterwards. Okay, so let's get into it. So the programme at Cambridge was established in 2022. So we have our 3rd cohort of scholars in Cambridge right now. I think we've got 58 scholars from 14 different countries studying a whole range of different master's programmes. And between sort of 2022 and 2030, we will have more than 500 African scholars completing their master's programmes, and it is master's specifically this programme is all about in Cambridge. So the the themes of the programme in Cambridge are climate resilience and sustainability, and I'll give a bit more information on what that means in practical terms in a minute. So yeah, like Oxford, I guess we like to think of the programme as more than just getting your master's. And there's lots of, clearly that's going to be your main focus if you do come to Cambridge, but there are lots of other opportunities to develop and grow and build your network while you're here. So to touch on just a couple of those, leadership development is really kind of baked into the programme in the form of 3 days with the Cambridge Institute for Sustainability Leadership during that year. And then again, like Oxford, we try and offer lots of support for that transition from academia. So whether you plan to do a PhD, or you're going into an internship, or you want to go straight into full-time employment, we try and offer support with whatever your chosen route is. And again, similar to Oxford, actually, we offer that support for 6 months after you graduate as well. So hopefully that's sold the program to you a little bit. But if you do choose to apply, this is how to go about it. So yeah, like Louisa mentioned, actually. So the first step with the MasterCard program is to apply to your department. So you have a look at the postgrad course directory on the University of Cambridge website, and there you can click into your chosen course, and it will give you all the information you need to really make that decision. So course duration, eligibility requirements, all of that. And just a quick note on deadlines, as Louisa mentioned, so it's the funding deadline that you need to look at here. So there are often 2 deadlines given with each course, with the standard application deadline being quite a long time after the funding deadline. But if you're going for this scholarship program, it's the funding deadline you need to look at, which is generally the beginning of December or the beginning of January. So the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program part of that is very much built into that main application. So we know that lots of people go online and expect to see like a separate MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program application. That doesn't exist. It's part of the main application to your department. So once you select that you'd like to apply for funding and you choose the MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program, you'll be asked to fill in a statement, to give a statement, and it covers these 3 main elements that you can see here. So your career or education history, how the scholarship will contribute to your trajectory, and then how you hope to contribute to sustainable futures in Africa and beyond. And I'll give a bit more information on how you might, think about making that link between your chosen course and the program themes in a minute. So once you've submitted that application, applications are reviewed by departments. So some courses interview. So if your chosen course does interview, it will be at this stage that interview happens. And then offer letters are sent out by departments, typically in about February. And then after that, the final part of the application process is the Scholars Program team here to review those successful applications and then send scholarship offer letters in March or April. So that's how the application process looks on a really broad sense. So I'm just going to jump straight into some FAQs. And again, if there's anything specific you'd like to ask about the application process, please do stick it in the chat. So what courses can I apply for? Most of them. So there are only 4 that you can't apply for. Those 4 listed here. The course length. So it has to be a master's and it has to be full-time. So the course length can vary between 9 and 12 months. But as long as it's a full-time master's and it's not one of these 4, you can apply for any master's course. What are the academic entry requirements? So really core question, but the short answer is please check the entry requirements for your chosen course. So they do vary depending on the course you're looking at. But to be completely upfront, many courses require a first-class degree and others an upper second. Third, and again, it's similar to colleagues in Oxford and Gates as well. So we try and cover everything that you would need to get your masters and really enjoy your time in Cambridge as well. So everything from your maintenance and living allowance to travel to and from Cambridge too. So this one we get asked a lot. So can I apply if I haven't taken or don't have my IELTS results yet? Yes, absolutely. So if you are granted a place and you don't currently have IELTS, you're given what's called a conditional offer. So your offer is then dependent on you getting your IELTS and submitting your results by the 31st of July. If you do receive an offer and you haven't yet got your IELTS, we can offer support with that. So both in terms of sharing resources, so materials to help you prepare for that. We can provide a voucher to cover the cost of taking the test. And also, actually, if you have to travel to another country to take the test, we can help with those costs as well. Yeah, what are you looking for when selecting applicants? So we want to hear about how your chosen course and your plans, your journey is linked to the program themes of climate resilience or sustainability. So I've just highlighted that sustainability bit because we want to encourage people to think about this, think about these challenges broadly. And if for you, your course isn't necessarily, if you think climate resilience is a more difficult link to make, then please think of how you can contribute to sustainable futures within your chosen field. And again, do think outside the box and think carefully about that one. So away from the course themes, we want to hear about your leadership potential. So not necessarily, proven or existing leadership skills, but you can talk about projects you've led or responsibilities you've taken on, for example. Then we also really want to hear about your plans and how your work can create a ripple effect that will go on to benefit others in Africa and beyond. Right, I think this is my final FAQ. So like Oxford, Cambridge is a collegiate college, which means you'll be a member of one of 31 different colleges. And there's lots of information online about the different colleges, how they differ and how to choose one. And colleges, I should probably explain, colleges are where you will live, where you'll often eat, socialize, and do some of your sort of small group learning as well. In terms of choosing the right one, there's three things that we should we recommend bearing in mind. So first, location, and actually that's not all that important in Cambridge because it's quite a compact city, it's flat, it's easy to get around. But we'd recommend just having a quick look at where your department is, if you're going to be spending a lot of time there in relation to some of these colleges, to get a feel for the kind of time you'll spend commuting. Cost, and this is probably more important. It's a really important one because we know that the costs of the different colleges can vary quite a bit, and this money comes out of the maintenance allowance or the living allowance that you'll get. So it's just being careful that you're not spending all of your money on rent, essentially. And then third, facilities. So just having a look at what makes each of these colleges unique. So some, for example, will be female only. Some are specifically set up to sort of work for more mature students, and some have got amazing world-class sports facilities. So it's just having a think about what you value the most, and then making sure the college of choice can do that for you. And that's it. Thank you very much. I hope that's helpful. I just want to end by sharing a few resources. So please do scribble these links down or get in touch with us if you've got any questions after this. Thanks very much. Thanks, Abita.
Thank you very much, Ian. And thank you so much to all our speakers for your very insightful presentations. We will now move on to the Q&A session. Given our poverty of time, I would like you to kindly indulge me in a small game, if that's okay. I have split the questions into two parts. So the first set is our rapid fire questions, and the second set is our more nuanced questions. For the rapid fire questions, each panelist can respond to these questions with either only one word or a very short phrase. The panelist with the shortest response actually wins the game. So if that is okay, we would also go in the order of our presentation. So Dr. Manyozo would go first, and then we have Ms. Edwards, and then Ms. Clark, and then we have Mr. Ian and Ms. Awa. So let the game begin. Let's start with our rapid fire questions. The first one is, does your mentorship Does your scholarship program require me to return to my home country after the degree? We can start with Dr. Manyozo.
Not really.
2 words. Great. Ms. Edwards?
Sorry. Oh, do I need to explain now?
Oh, no, it's a straightforward question. And
Not really. Not really. Yeah.
thank you. And then we can go to Ms. Edwards.
No.
Thank you. Ms. Clark?
No.
Thank you. We have Ian and Awa. Oh, I think you're muted.
I don't know. Not really. Think impact.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to our second question. Does your scholarship provide support for English language test fees? I know Ian covered this a little bit, but we can start with Dr. Manyozo.
It's complicated.
Do you want to explain a little bit?
In terms of the support that's provided, it usually starts from the moment somebody gets the offer of the scholarship. So that's when we pick up. So that's why I say it's complicated, but it's nuanced. That's why I'm saying it's complicated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Edwards? Sorry, I think
It's no.
Thank you. Ms. Clark?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a no for the application side. And as already mentioned by the Africa Oxford Initiative, our support really begins after the offer has been received. That's really where we focus. But I have to say, it's actually not a question I've been asked before. So I think maybe because candidates know it's not something we offer. But yeah, our support is really aimed after the offer.
Thank you. Ian and Awa, did you have any additions?
Yeah, the response from us is yes, but I think it's important to clarify here that, this support is also provided after you have received an offer. So the information was, if you do not have the English language test, that shouldn't prevent you from applying. If you do apply and then you get an offer, then we would support with the test.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to our third question. If you're a dual UK African passport holder, can you still apply for the scholarship? This is tied to another question, which is, are Africans in the diaspora eligible for your scholarship?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards?
Yes. I want to explain more. Basically, that wouldn't really link to the criteria for the scholarship for us, for either Black academic futures or refugees.
Thank you. Ms. Clark?
It's complicated, would be my answer here. Technically, Gates Cambridge is open to all nationalities, all subject areas, except UK nationals. So it would depend if the candidate is really a UK national, but they just happen to have a second nationality, or if they are, if the UK nationality is their second nationality, but they are normally based outside the UK and hold another nationality, we could consider them then. But yeah, it is complicated. So I would say if a candidate is a dual national, contact us to check they would be eligible.
Thank you. Ms. Awa?
It's a nuanced conversation for us, so it's not a yes or no. Yeah, because our eligibility criteria states, African students resident on the continent, unless you can demonstrate absence, for work or study. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So moving on to our next question. Can a second-class student win your scholarship? Dr. Manyozo, you can start.
As long as they've gotten into the university, because we pick from the entry. So if a department takes them, then we're going to consider them. But if they don't pass through the Oxford assessment process, then there's nothing we can do.
Thank you. Ms. Kim? Oh, that was a yes. Sorry, the sound.
Yes. I'm trying to keep it brief.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
Yeah, so as long as the candidate passes through the Cambridge admissions, department admissions process, we could consider them.
Thank you very much. Ms. Awa.
Yes, as long as you manage to pass through the departmental hurdles.
Okay, so our final question on the rapid fire questions is there an age limit for applicants?
No.
Okay, thank you. That was a no.
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 Okay, perfect. Perfect. So we're going to move on to the second set of questions, which is, the more nuanced questions. Clearly, some of the rapid fire questions were nuanced as well. What is the acceptable percentage of AI content usable in statements of purpose and motivation letters?
Why did that have to be the first question that I have to answer? So
it's a common question.
all right. And I think I would take it the other way, but not really looking at the percentage. But by just looking at the whole process of the development, because we believe the development of the application documents have to be done by you as the candidate. And if you're going to use AI or any software that you're using, is to help you refine what you have already developed. So if you're using ChatGPT for Pilot or any of the other tools, it should be to help you tell your story better, but not necessarily to author the material from scratch. So there isn't any percentage, but that's basically just the guideline that I'd say we provide.
Thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, it's individual departments do plagiarism checks, and so they would be the ones picking up that, I believe, or certainly that used to be the case. It might be central graduate admissions now. But yeah, I would say you want to it's about you. You shouldn't really be using it for the content. And so don't take the risk, just write it yourself, I would say.
Thank you. Ms. Clark?
Yes, I would agree with my colleagues that there is no right answer with your application. And so using something like AI is not going to help you in that sense. I think, we obviously have no objection to people using computer software for things like spell checking, etc., this side of it. But really, we want you to come across with your authentic personal story and motivations. And so I would say don't use AI because it's not going to be able to deliver that.
Thank you very much. Ms. Awa?
I would agree with everything my colleagues have said. There are a lot of departments that do plagiarism checks, so they'll be able to detect that. And at a scholarship level, we don't do plagiarism checks, but we are looking for your story. And AI would not be able to author an authentic story. And if you use ChatGPT, it's going to tell on you. We can tell when, a story has been authored by ChatGPT. Of course, you can use it to summarize, spell checks and stuff. But if it's your story, if it's your trajectory, it makes sense for you to write it.
Thank you. The second question is, what support systems do you offer Africans on your scholarship? For specificity, I am visually impaired. Are there assistive grants or other forms of support for an inclusive student experience?
Yes, there is that support for our scholarship, and for the specifics, I'll have to check. But I know that there is a support that's specifically offered for students with disability.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Edwards.
Yes, we as a scholarship don't offer specific support around that. However, the university and your college would be a point of contact and would offer support. on that. In terms of more general support for students, we do have so for Refugee Academic Futures, we have a support program which is facilitated by a specialist area within the university to understand the difficulties that students have gone through. And similarly, we run a program for BAF students in terms of kind of support, social support, academic support, having fun with fellow students. So yeah, there's a whole mix there.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
So yeah, I would echo my colleague Kim's answer that the University of Cambridge has an accessibility and disability resource centre, and we would encourage all applicants to disclose if they have a disability as part of their application. And certainly if they don't want to do it as part of their application, if they're made an offer, because you will then, the funding bodies don't learn about that, I should reassure you. So we don't get told that information, and it would never be used to make a funding decision. But what it will ensure is that the university can then put in place appropriate resources to support your studies. So if you did have a visual impairment, for example, they made sure that you had the appropriate support. So I would very much encourage you to disclose any disabilities. Either you have the opportunity at the application stage, but if you don't feel comfortable to do it at that stage, please do so at your offer stage when you're enrolling. In terms of additional support that Gates Cambridge provides, we very much want you to be part of our community and to participate actively. And we do offer supplementary funding for academic development and some other areas, but we would consider applications on a case-by-case basis if somebody did have something such as a visual impairment, so maybe they needed some extra support to come to events, for example, because we wouldn't want that to be a barrier to them being part of our community and joining events. So sorry, that's quite a long answer,
okay.
but there would definitely be support.
Thank you. Ms. Awa.
Yes, we provide support for differently abled students. Like my colleague Louisa has said, we've got the Accessibility and Disability Resource Center, that takes lead in this, but there would also be support available in your college. And as your funder, we're going to provide, comprehensive support to meet your needs.
Thank you very much. We're almost out of time, so I'll just ask one final question, which could be considered a rapid fire question. You could answer it in one word. My final question to you is, what advice would you offer a student who is hesitant to study abroad? And if I can just, add a side question to the Oxford Scholarship personnel, do you have fee waivers? Because I know for the Cambridge side, MasterCard provides for most African students. I might have missed this information, but do you have fee waivers, application fee waivers for African students? Yeah, but that's it. You can start. You can start.
All right. So there are two questions, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So there's somebody who is hesitant to study abroad. What would I tell them? It's a wonderful experience. It connects you. It helps you build your networks. And one thing that I always say is that as a person, I know that if I want to go to Kenya, there's a couch somewhere that I'm going to be able to rely on, because I have friends in Kenya, I have friends in Ethiopia. It helps. It also helps to open up your mind in the way you learn more about how people think, how people do things. It just challenges you in many ways. And even from a development perspective, if you want to develop your country, it was indeed a good idea to go and see what other people are doing and then get some of the good stuff and then bring it back to your country. In terms of fee waivers, that's always a sticky one. So there's a mentorship program, and I think Nina is on the call who can explain about the fee waivers that come with those that are in the mentorship program. I don't want to say wrong information, but those that are going through the mentorship program, there's some that are going to be eligible for those, but most of the people are going to be applying with an application fee.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kim?
Yes, in terms of people choosing to study abroad, I just say that it's Oxford is highly international. Most of our graduate students are not from the UK. So you'll be coming here, you'll not only be coming abroad, you won't be on your own being abroad. It's like you're coming to meet the world at Oxford. So yeah, if that appeals to you, apply. That would be my thing. And in terms of the application fee, I would just say I had a quick look because I thought this might come up. It's quite specific when you can have an application fee waiver. So just look it up online in terms of Oxford. There's a very clear page over what the criteria are. If you still would like a waiver and you don't meet those criteria, then I would encourage you to contact the department you're applying to, because they will sometimes offer you a waiver even if you don't meet those criteria.
Thank you. Ms. Clark?
I would very much echo my colleague Kim's answer here that Cambridge also is extremely international, very international at the postgraduate level. The great benefit of coming to Oxford or Cambridge is the fact that you are part of so many different networks. You're part of your department, but you're also part of your college. And then also your funding provider is another network and community. So you've got these different levels of support that are open to you. And I think you can feel then that you're never alone. You're going to find at least one community that you can seek support from. And, you know, as this webinar is demonstrating, there are so many different societies as well when you're in Cambridge and Oxford, and obviously there's the African Society as just one example. So I think don't let sort of fear of not having lived abroad before put you off. And as my colleagues have also mentioned, lots of work is done before you arrive in Oxford or Cambridge in terms of orientation activities, opportunities to connect with current students. So you can really start to hear about what life is like, what are some tips for things to bring, that kind of thing. So it doesn't just start in October when you first land here. In terms of fee waivers, please check the University of Cambridge website, because there is no application fee for Gates Cambridge, but it is for the University of Cambridge application, and there is strict criteria that you have to meet in order to qualify for a fee waiver. So we don't provide any additional funding to cover application fees.
Thank you. Ms. Awa?
For anyone who's hesitating, to travel abroad for their studies, the only thing I'll tell them is just do it. And is there a fee waiver? Yes, as long as you meet the eligibility requirement for the course you are applying to. If you click to apply for Mastercard Foundation, you'll get an automatic fee waiver.
Thank you. Thank you. For the rapid fire game, I would say all the speakers won. You all tried your best to keep it short. You're still a little bit out of time, but that's okay. We've come to the end of our webinar. I'd just like to summarize the key points discussed today. We've covered various scholarships available at Cambridge and Oxford, their eligibility criteria, application processes, as well as tips for successful applications, and answered some really important questions. I want to extend my heartfelt appreciation to all our panelists here for your stellar interventions today, and to everybody who has attended the sessions today. For further information and resources, please refer to the description box in this YouTube video. If you'd like, if you found this webinar helpful, I would, pretend that I'm a social media influencer. And I would just say, if you found this webinar helpful, please like this video by clicking the thumbs up button and turning on your notifications bell. Comment down below what you learned and subscribe to this YouTube channel for further insights. Thank you so much, everybody. And I wish everyone an application season that is, minimized of stress. Have a wonderful week. Bye, everybody. Take care. I'm waiting for the signal.